You think you're doing everything right in the gym. I'm talking Orange Theory 4 or 5 days a week. Maybe it's F45. You got that heart rate monitor strapped on. Your Apple Watch says you burn 600, even 1,000 calories, and you walk out of there feeling like you got your freaking ass kicked. So why aren't you losing weight? If that's the question you keep coming back to, I need you to hear this. Exercising to burn calories is one of the least effective fat loss strategies you can use. And I'm not just talking about ineffective, it's almost completely broken as an approach. Your body is actively working against you every time you try to do it this way. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly why, but more importantly, what to replace it with. So 9 times out of 10, when I'm on a consultation call or an onboarding call with a new client and they are already doing some form of exercise, they think they just need to keep doing what they're doing in terms of exercise, clean up their diet, and then the weight loss will start rolling around. Their health markers will improve, their energy will be better, everything will just be great. And they're not wrong in the sense that, yeah, they need to clean up their diet. If you're not as energetic, if you don't look the way you want to look, something's wrong with the diet, right? It's not magic. However, believing just because you're exercising that that's all you need to be doing from that standing, that's not correct, just to put it bluntly, right? And the reason is, although it sounds like a semantics difference, there's a very big difference between exercising and training. And so how I would define exercise is just moving your body, burning some calories, breaking a sweat. Like this looks like going to the gym without a workout program, just hitting some machines, doing kind of what you've done since college, going to F45, Orange Theory, going for a jog, whatever. Even sometimes working out with a personal trainer if they just keep doing random stuff over and over again, just trying to keep you entertained. Like this is all exercise. And how that is different from training has a very specific stimuli that you're exposing yourself to in a way that's progressively overloaded, sometimes periodized. Like it's a very specific program with a specific adaptation that you're trying to get out of it. And for most people that come to me for body composition change, that's why most people come to me, is hypertrophy needs to be that adaptation we're striving towards, muscle building. And when you're just going through the motions at the gym, you're not on a program, you're not progressively overloading that. If you're just going to F45 or Orange Theory or whatever, you're moving, you're exercising. That's great for general population. But if you're actually trying to make progress in your fitness goals, you got to train. You can't just exercise. It needs to be thought out. It needs to have proper volume per muscle group per week. You need to be training in close proximity to technical failure. You need a proper frequency, progressive overload, proper exercise selection. You can't just be going through the motions, breaking a sweat. That's not what you need. Even if the only goal was to just burn calories with exercise, that also doesn't work. And the reason that doesn't work is we used to believe that calorie burning was additive. So if you went for a 3-hour bike ride, you burned 500 calories an hour. So let's say, okay, your basal metabolic rate is 2,000. And then, you'll burn calories moving around throughout the day as well. And then, you got 1,500 calories. So therefore you burned maybe 4,000 calories in that day. Well, we found out that that's not actually how that works. So let's say you did go for that 3-hour bike ride, or you did 3 back-to-back F45 classes or something like that. What would actually happen is, yes, you would burn more calories through physical activity. That's how that would work. But there's also 3 other ways your body burns calories. There's basal metabolic rate, which is just how many calories to keep the lights on, like me sitting in this chair, or sitting on my ass or whatever. That's basal metabolic rate. It's going to be your biggest amount of calories burned. And then there's thermic effective food. So if I eat a steak, maybe it takes 100 calories a steak. Maybe it takes 30 calories of its own calories to digest that, versus if I have a fucking Twinkie, it might take 5, if that, right? Because it's just going to go right through me. So that has an effect of how many calories you burn, the types of foods you eat. That's why eating whole foods is so important. One of the reasons. And then we also have NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is me talking to you right now. This is me moving my hands. This is going for a walk. This is me just fidgeting in this chair. That all adds up to your total calories burned per day. And so what happens is, if you exercise to burn calories, yes, you're going to burn more calories through the exercise. But what happens is those 3 other ways that you burn calories, those are all going to compensate. They're going to drop. So you digesting your own food, that's going to drop. It's going to burn less calories that way. Your NEAT is going to drop. You're not going to fidget as much. You're not going to move around as much. That drops. Your basal metabolic rate is actually going to drop as well. So the net result is even though on your Apple Watch or your Garmin or whatever the hell says you burn 1,500 calories, maybe you only burn like 200 to 300 extra calories via exercise. So not the best strategy because not only are you putting in all that work just to get a few extra calories, but you could also eat 300 calories in 30 seconds, if that, So it's just not the lever that, guys really think it is exercise. The old adage of, you can't outrun a shit diet. It's 100% true. And I'm not sitting here telling you exercise is bad and you should just sit on your ass and just watch what you eat. That's not what I'm saying at all. Cardio, exercise, it's all great stuff. It does burn additional calories. It will help you lose weight. It just doesn't have the effect that guys think it does. And it has insanely diminishing returns. Like once you get to a certain point, it's just freaking cliff afterwards. And not only that, but if all you're doing is, exercising, burning calories, going through the motions, doing random stuff while you're losing weight, even if you are losing weight, because I'd assume you've got your diet in check, you're handling that. What's going to happen if you're not training is you're going to lose a significant amount of muscle. So you're not going to end up more athletic, a leaner, better looking version of yourself who's more energetic, has better insulin sensitivity, better overall body composition. No. You're going to end up a skinnier, fatter version of yourself. Maybe not fatter. You'll lose overall fat, but you're going to look skinny fat, which, it's not a good look. But, but if we're really trying to improve health markers, that all comes down to body composition, not scale weight. Scale weight does not matter. All that matters is your body fat percentage. I've got another video on that you could watch, but it's about your ratio of fat to muscle that really matters. And of course, protein intake from your diet is a big lever in making sure you build and maintain muscle as you lose weight. But just as important is actually training to build muscle. And I said this earlier, but I just want to drill this in your head right now, is to actually build that muscle, you need to just reframe that. I'm not trying to burn calories with my workouts. That's not my goal here. A good measurement of whether I worked out isn't how beat up I feel. It's not how much I sweat. It's not how much I get out of breath. It's not how short my rest periods were in that workout. None of that shit matters. Frankly, some of the best workouts I have, I feel like I could do more afterwards because that doesn't determine results. That's a shitty proxy for where your results are coming from. All that determines results is overall volume per muscle group per week, and how we define volume is sets per muscle group per week. So for most muscle groups, chest, shoulders, back, biceps, triceps, quads, hamstrings, you just need 6 to 10 sets per muscle group. So that's like if you do 3 times a week, you just need 3 sets of chest on Monday and 3 sets of chest on Friday, and that's it. I'm so serious. That is if you're training in close proximity to failure. If you're just going through the motions, you've got like 10 reps left in reserve, it's not going to get you anywhere. You got to be training close where those last reps are really slowing down and you're getting to a point where you're not breaking your technique. Technique is the most important thing, but you're not going to be able to maintain technique if you keep going, right? And frequency is how many times you're hitting each muscle group per week. So this needs to be, 1 is sufficient, but ideally you'd hit each muscle group twice. And then, so that's volume, intensity, frequency. And then the most important thing, like the North Star, is progressive overload. So I'll probably do a full video on double progression method. That's the method I use for progressive overload for myself and all my clients. But if I'm going to really dumb that down, it's really simple. It's just, if you look at your logbook, what you did last week, are you adding reps and or weight each week while making sure your tempo, like you're controlled, you're not just using momentum, going crazy, is under control. And then also you need to make sure your technique is very good. You don't want to add reps or add weight at the expense of your technique or your tempo. That's not a very sustainable strategy. That's going to lead to burnout. So if you're in the mindset of just trying to burn calories, exercise, sweat as much as possible, beat yourself up, I'd like to challenge you to get out of that mindset and replace it with one where training, not exercise, is used to build muscle, build functional strength, build mobility, make my body feel good, not beat it to the ground. And then the diet, my nutrition, getting into a calorie deficit, eating nutrient-dense foods, eating enough protein, enough fiber, that's what's going to lead to my overall weight loss. So not only is this just a better strategy in terms of actually getting you results, it's also a more sustainable one. Like I'm yet to talk to a guy who's just beating himself into the ground with exercise every single week and, not really focusing on his diet, eating better foods and such thing, and is one, losing weight, but two, doing that for a long term. So my advice, unsolicited, is to stop exercising and start training. Fat loss is going to come from the diet. Muscle building is going to come from the training. That's going to lead to body composition change. The guys who actually transform their bodies aren't chasing calorie burn. They're building something that's compounding over time. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.